Hi everybody, I'm Bob and I'm an alcoholic. I've done the work that's laid out in the Big Book with the help of a Big Book Step Study sponsor, and I'm working on my amends. And I'm full of fear this morning, so, I have some tools today. I can ask God to take that fear away and, put one foot in front of the other and try to be of some service. And I don't know what it's going to do for you people, but it's probably going to help me to speak today. So I'm not quite saying it yet, but probably at the end of this, I'll be able to be grateful that I had a chance to speak today. So I like this step. It's such an important piece. The longer I go along with Big Book Step Study, the more I realize the importance of it, the more I realize the importance of staying hooked up, with the program and with, the opportunity to get to work with other people. Because, just backing up a little bit, a couple weeks ago we did the 10th step, when it says in there, when these something along the line of when these things crop up. And by nature, I'm one of those people that I like to coast, and I like to think that I've already done that work, and I guess that's why I like this step, is because why I like Big Book Step Study in general is because they don't let you wiggle off the hook, which is what by nature I like to do. And, I'm one of those people that can really be, seduced by the fruits of my recovery. I think, I've done that, and the downside to that really is the fact that, I can very easily get into this thing, they haven't done the work that I've done, so they don't know, you know what I mean? And, and then I might even try to point that out to them, you know what I mean? And so where I'm going with this, right? And it can be problematic in my relationships. And the other thing that I like about going to meetings is that, I don't know about anybody else, but I kind of get these thoughts in my head, and they'll roll around in there for a couple of months until I move on to something else. And so, I've been thinking just the last couple of weeks about how, number one, the answer to my problem probably is that I need to be part of the solution, and that I need to keep that up front, because I am one of those people that can be tempted by the bait, and I can say things in an attempt to be funny, and it really is at the expense of somebody else. And so I need to be careful of that, so I need to, there's all sorts of things that go along with that, I could be right, but I could be beating them up with the truth or something. I don't want to do that, you know what I mean? I just want to, so it would work best for me if I just said to myself, you know what, keep your lip zipped and just, try to be part of the solution here. So that's kind of what's been rolling around in my head lately, and it actually has been helpful at home, to do that, So that's a good place to start. And we started right off with this chapter in a section that I like a lot. A sentence that I like a lot is, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking than intensive work with other alcoholics. So, it's like, wow, that gets right to the core of things. They don't talk about, shoveling your neighbor's yard or painting his house, or, you know what I mean, or other perhaps fundamentally good Christian acts, you know what I mean? They talk about, if you want to stay sober, which is what, this book is about, I'm assuming, right? And going to meetings in general, then, working. So I guess why that's so important to me is that it kind of drives that point home. It's like, oh no, it's not like, oh, I'm going to 20 meetings a week. Maybe if I up it to 27, I'll up my program. You know what I mean? They're saying, no, intense work with other alcoholics. That's the way to do it. And so that piece, I just think is really important for me to focus on that. Okay, it's about the quality of what I do and not necessarily running around trying to do this or trying to do that, but, working with other people. And, part of the reason why that's important is, I have no idea what it does for them, but it's really helpful to me. And then as time goes on and I work with other people, I realize, oh, you know what, there are things that I could do here to really kind of, improve what I'm doing, which is what I try and do, you know what I mean? And part of it is, like, in my mind, right, I can't believe that anybody would ever come to Big Book Step Study and then not just fall in love with it. I mean, I did. You know what I mean? I guess when I start to work with a new guy now, I need to drive home more the point about you got to go to Big Book Step Study. Like go there every week. You know what I mean? And it's like they're my people. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you got to go. It's like part of the deal, And so I think in the past I haven't really emphasized that piece as much as I should have, because just because my experience has been, different guys that I've worked with, I don't see any of them here today. You know what I mean? And so how are they doing? I don't know. They drift away, and it's like So that piece is not helpful, at least to me, because I like to stay hooked up with people if at all possible. I'm an isolator by nature. I could very easily come to a meeting, not say a word to anybody, and leave afterwards. But again, Big Book Step Study doesn't really invite you to do that. As soon as you do, you do all this writing, right? And then they say, okay, you can take an hour off. To reflect on the work that you've done. Now get busy. Now it's time for more action. You know what I mean? And I mean, where else? Other than here. You know what I mean? That's your break. The break's over. And even then, it's not really a break because you're supposed to go over the first 5 proposals. You know what I mean? And so. It is pretty funny, but it's just what I need, because again, I'm one of those people that I will wiggle off the hook if at all possible. And so, I need this, and I'm saying that from experience, because I've never relapsed, but I've come to AA for decades and not done too much, you know what I mean? So I got the coasting thing down pretty good, you know what I mean? And, like I like to say, when you're coasting, you're going downhill, And so that's not really, and people talk about, 10, 11, and 12 as being the maintenance steps, but our reading seems to suggest that if I continue to work 10, 11, 12, that I can grow. I mean, wow, what a sweet thing that would be if I could grow, huh? And I also like to say, if I'm as well as I'm ever going to get, my family's going to be really disappointed, So I get to come to AA, and I get to come to Big Book Step Study in particular, and get hooked up and hopefully stay hooked up. It talks in here about different ways that we can work with the new person. I sometimes I think to myself that, so this is an exaggeration, but like going out on the street and trying to recruit somebody into AA is probably wouldn't work all that well, right? But the people that are already here, that are going to like other meetings, it was so long that I was, I didn't know anything about Big Book Step Study, but yet going to meetings, so those seem to be the people that I want to reach today, because I think it's possible to come into AA and stay sober for a period of time, and my mind would tell me, it didn't happen to, because I've been sober for over 20 years before I started coming here, and I only say that because it's part of my story, it's part of my experience, it's part of I'm one of those people that can go to meetings and it's like, shit, I never even picked up on the fact that there were these this place that I could go. And even my very first Big Book Step Study was this meeting here. And I came here because my personal life was going well, my professional life was going well, and I wasn't happy at meetings. And so I came here, and that's not a knock for any other meetings. It just means that I wasn't getting it, you know what I mean? And so, I came here, and right away, it's like I walk into the room, this is where all the normal people are, right? And that was my reaction. And what it really was that it was all the people that I liked hearing speak at meetings, right? And what I didn't realize at the time was I enjoyed hearing them speak at meetings because they were talking about the solution. And so I was going to meetings for over 20 years and was totally ignorant of the fact that was out there, that there was this piece in AA that I wasn't aware of, and I'm one of those people that had done the steps another way, but now having done them the other way and have done them this way and continue to do them this way, I realized that the other way was pretty thin on the fourth column, And if you know the work, you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? And again, that's not a knock for anything else. It's just that was my experience with it. I didn't get it, you know what I mean? I could come here, I could come to AA meetings for a long time and still think, on some level, that it's you, that it's, and so that's like a weakness that I have, and Big Book Step Study invites me to get over it, you know what I mean? And they have this work that I can do to where I can perhaps, keep my mouth shut long enough to realize what my part is in things, because again, that wasn't a big part for me, you know what I mean? I was, when I had done my writing and stuff, it was pretty clear to me that I was, we're all like little lawyers in AA, you know what I mean? Like, we like to tell our story, and we like to put the twist on it, if at all possible. And so my twist would be, I was just standing on the side of the road. Can you believe that this happened to me? You know what I mean? And like totally miss it, like as to how I set that up. That's why I love that in our reading, that the things that I do that set this up. So that situation could not have turned out any differently than it did because of me. It didn't have anything to do with you. Now I was not aware of that, prior to coming here. So was I part of the solution prior to coming here? What do they say? A blind squirrel even finds a nut once in a while. You know what I mean? So maybe once in a while, but it wasn't like the overall thing. You know what I mean? And so again, I go back to, how could someone like myself possibly come here and not appreciate what it has to offer? And there are people here that will gladly help you, and then they'll say, "Oh no, you're helping me more." And at first I used to hear that, and I think, what a load of baloney that is. You know what I mean? But now that I'm on the other side of that, I think absolutely, because I'm going to coast otherwise. I'm going to not stay hooked up. I'm going to. I'm one of those people that, if I didn't come to AA, I've never not come to AA, but if I didn't come to AA, I don't know if I would drink or not, but I would become more and more right. And I'm prone to being right anyway, so, I'm pretty sure that that's what it would look like beforehand, you know what I mean? And then it could get really ugly after that, you know what I mean? Especially if I pick up a drink. And my wife and my daughter have never seen me drink. I'd like to keep it that way. So it says here, I shouldn't do that at meetings because I know it kind of gets to me. You know what I mean? But when I think about my family and my daughter in particular,
I just feel so blessed, and I just can't. And I was sober for a long time, before we had a child, and before I was married even, and so it just blows my mind that I could have such blessings. Like that, a wretch like me, could have those things. It just blows my mind. So, and anyways, it goes on to say, they're talking about on when we first get hooked up with the alcoholic, tell them how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick, and it is pretty amazing to come to AA and to realize that. I think on some level that I knew I was an alcoholic long before I came here, but again, I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know that, what do people do when they don't drink, you certainly can't have any fun anymore, you know what I mean? I guess that whole guidance thing that AA provides for people, is really important to me. So I came here and, I got to see, there are other people that have the same problem as I do. But as it talks about here, just tell that person about the struggles that you had with alcohol. And I think probably, if you happen to hook up with somebody new at a Big Book Step Study, hopefully by then, they already kind of know that alcohol is the problem. And and so how do you move forward with that piece? And that was certainly what I was interested in. I knew that I knew that I had done some work prior to coming here, but I also knew that there were some holes in my recovery. Like why when I don't get my way, I can get so upset or go into that that silent scorn sort of thing, and because again I wasn't aware that I had any part in anything, and I got to come here, and you people helped me out with that. So and it says here, outline the program of action. So if I finally get to the point where what I've been doing now is if somebody says can I help them? And like we get together and kind of talk, and I kind of see where they're coming from. It is a commitment, to come here and to do the work. So we can talk about it. We can see if they're on board about it, because there are certain things in my mind that would need to happen. I want to see you at a meeting at this point in time. I've done the part about not saying that I'd like to see you at a meeting, and now I'm kind of at that point. I'd really like to see you at a meeting, I realize people go on vacations, they go to this, and I'm not talking about that, but, if at all possible, it would be great, because, it is a commitment, and, and if they're willing to do that. Now, so typically what I do with the guys is that we'll get together for an hour a week and do the reading, and that takes a few weeks, to, get through the stuff, and I can kind of see where they're coming from a little bit, and, we can talk and, start to talk about the God thing, and, because again, that whole piece about the God thing, that if you ask me, do I trust and rely on God, I would say sure, But I'm like thinking, well, as long as I'm getting my way, I'm going to trust and rely on God. But, so, I think as time goes on, I get a little better hooked up with that piece, And so then, I like to go to Panera's, because it's convenient for me, and it's kind of like, not in my neighborhood, but where I get on and off the highway, and I do all sorts of stuff right in that area, So anyway, so we tend to get together in there and do the reading, right? And nobody gives you the bum's rush in there, They don't try to get you to leave or anything, so I appreciate that, But anyway, so we do our reading in there, we read out loud, which is, I don't know, it's kind of weird. So, but anyway, what makes me laugh is, so then when it comes time for doing a formal third step, I don't ask them to get on their knees, but I say, okay, now we're going to hold hands, and we're going to say out loud the third step prayer. And I figure, if they're willing to do that in a packed Paneras, then they probably have some willingness to move forward, you know? So that's kind of what I've been doing with that piece. And, you know, again, I don't know what it does for them, but it certainly keeps me connected with the program, and hopefully we can keep this thing moving forward so that we can, you know, they can get a little bit better, I can get a little bit better, and but that's the piece that I appreciate about Big Book Step Study. So thanks.